A Great Argead Saga Alexein. Volume 1, Telesias, The War Dance. Macalanaki. A new episode every single day. Episode 27.
Epirus, Embers of a Sovereign Name. The Court of Passaron, Kingdom of Molossia, Epirus. The brutal assassination of young King Alexander II had newly played out within the royal house of neighboring Macedonia. As the grim intelligence shattered the silence of the heavy stone walls of Passaron, the funeral rites of the slain monarch moved weightily in the distant capital of Pella, defiling its streets with mud and blood. Within the dim war room of the Epirus court, beside a roaring hearth, 7-year-old Princess Polyxena knelt upon a massive, long-furred rug of bare skin, driving her small knees deeply into the pelt. The sharp, rhythmic popping of beechwood burning deep inside the fireplace blended with the heavy aroma of animal fat, dominating the room's atmosphere. The fierce ember heat and violent flickering of the dark red flames made the bronze armor of Athena she wore pulse with a sinister, lifelike energy. Spread upon the floor by her dry surface, it seared the cold geometric equations of future battlefields directly into the depths of Polyxena's piercing eyes. She had by no means broken into this council with the pleading demeanor of an ordinary child. "Mother," Polyxena called out, her voice low and clear like a ringing bell, yet strangely mature as her fingers gently pinned the head of a small serpent. "When will the infant inside your womb emerge into this light? Spring is arriving, the season when the first thunder strikes these mountains of Epirus. Will this child be born alongside the storm?" Illuminated by the shifting orange glow of the hearth, Queen Andromache of Molossia let out a heavy sigh from her couch. Her features were pale and drawn from the exhaustion of continuous dynastic feuds and childbirth, yet her eyes still harbored the proud, fierce fire unique to the Aeacid line. "Yes, Polyxena," Andromache replied, resting her hand gently upon her swollen belly, her voice affectionate yet laced with a grim premonition. "When these mountains awaken from their winter sleep and the earth has wept its final tears, this child will cry its first breath. The final month of my term is already upon us. Is it a boy or a girl?" The moment Polyxena pressed further, a shadow detached itself from the bronze candelabra in the corner. Another girl stepped into the light with cold, measured footsteps. It was Princess Troas, Polyxena's much older sister. Already being integrated into the geopolitical matchmaking of dynastic marriage, her face was early marked by the cynical realism common to those who survive this unforgiving court. "Such a thing cannot be known until the birth, Polyxena. Even the Seloi priests cannot glimpse it," Troas said, casting a look of disgust at the snake her sister toyed with, while elegantly adjusting the hem of her robe. Troas maintained a silent, highly calculated focus, observing her younger sister's movements with absolute patience. If a boy is born, it may well ignite a new civil war. The court is already fractured by a distorted web of suspicion between father and his ambitious brother Epirus over the throne. But mother, if this child is indeed a son destined to inherit the spear of Molossia, what name does father intend to bestow upon him? Conversely, if it is a girl, is she to be nothing more than nameless fabric, sold to some distant tribe as a hostage to secure an alliance just like myself and you? Currently, the throne of Molossia hung in a precarious state of co-regency between Polyxena's father, King Neoptolemus I, and his ambitious younger brother, Epirus. The two brothers existed in a cage of absolute distrust, constantly tracking each other's shadows and dividing the loyalty of the palace guard, ready to slit the other's throat the moment an opening appeared. Queen Andromache stared into the dying embers of the hearth, a geometry of iron determination hardening the corners of her thin lips. "If it is a boy," the queen declared with absolute clarity, "his name shall be Alexander. No matter how sharply his uncle Epirus polishes his venomous fangs, this child will stand as the supreme shield of our legitimate branch of Neoptolemus." "Alexander," Polyxena murmured, tracing the cadence of the name behind her eyelids. In her hands, the serpent raised its head as if answering the call. "Why that name, mother? What strategy, what meaning does it harbor?" "It is the exact same name as the murdered king of the Macedonian backwater, Alexander II. Why choose to call upon that name now, in these mountain halls? Andromache raised her upper body slowly, confronting both of her daughters Troas, who stared at the cold reality, and Polyxena, whose eyes held the geometry of the abyss. In the Greek tongue, Alexandros means he who defends men, a protector of humanity. But when the blood of Aeacus invokes this name, it signifies far more than a passive shield. The queen's voice dropped to a heavy rumble, resonating like the whispering beech trees of Dodona in the dark. Right now, the old structure of Hellas is being torn apart by the rising sun of southern Thebes. In northern Macedonia, a regent serpent writhes in betrayal, and the world is painted in a mire of blood. Both Athens and Sparta gasp inside their crumbling cages. Just this morning, scouts brought word that the young Argead wolf cub, named Philip, has been hauled away to Thebes as a hostage. The fault lines of this global upheaval are pressing directly against the borders of Epirus. Troas caught her breath, and Polyxena's gray-green eyes narrowed slightly. The downfall of this unseen Macedonian prince struck a strange, resonant chord within the 7-year-old girl's mind. The world currently hungers for a massive hammer to forge it into order, Andromache said, drawing Polyxena's small hand closer, disregarding the cold scales of the serpent as she enclosed it within her palm. If the child in my womb is a son, he will not merely defend these mountains of Epirus. He will crush the ambitions of your uncle Erebus, force the spears of invading barbarians, and every Greek ambition to bow at his feet, and protect the world by dominating men. Alexander is nothing less than an iron hammer of light destined to shatter the darkness of chaos. What name of equal weight and steel will you grant her? A mere piece of sacrificial flesh that cannot even act as a shield for the royal house. Queen Andromache faced Troas without a shred of hesitation, sharpening her voice into an icy blade. If it is a daughter, her name shall be Cassandra or Laodamia. Polyxena tilted her head, hungering for the cadence of the two names. Cassandra, Laodamia. What do those names cleave through? Mother? Cassandra means she who shines among men, or she who entangles warriors. It is the name of the unyielding princess of our Trojan ancestors who harbored the prophecy of ruin. A pride akin to a curse flared in Andromache's eyes. And Laodamia means she who tames and subdues the people. When a woman of the Aeacid line is given in marriage to a foreign land, she does not merely surrender her physical form. She becomes an iron wedge, using her name to enchant the enemy's court and govern them from within. If a man is to be a king of the sword, a woman shall be a ruler of the blood. Nothing inferior to Alexander will ever emerge from my womb. Overwhelmed by her mother's towering vision, Troas fell silent, staring into the hearth fire. She evaluated the prospect of such a monster emerging from these barren mountains with a gaze full of profound skepticism. 7-year-old Polyxena, however, was entirely different. She squeezed her mother's hand, feeling something cold and merciless pulse deep within her chest, right beneath where the green serpent coiled over her heart. He who defends men, she who subdues the people. Deep within her flesh, Polyxena chewed upon the geometry of her own name, a destiny signifying she who receives many foreign guests. Her gaze shifted toward the window, looking out past the pitch-black peaks of the Pindus Mountains toward the blood-stained horizon of Macedonia. Inside her mind, she translated her mother's words into a far more terrifying prophecy of her own design. If this infant is to be an Alexander who protects the world, or a Cassandra who commands the people, then one day, when I fulfill the true meaning of Polyxena and receive an absolute stranger from a foreign land, will the child I bring forth from my womb transcend even those titles? Will it be a godlike titan that entirely subdues and rules the entire architecture of the earth? A cruel and beautiful smile, completely devoid of genuine human warmth, touched the corners of the young girl's lips. I like those names, Mother, Polyxena whispered, allowing the serpent in her hand to glide up against her neck. Let this infant, as a violent, icy rain lashed the stone walls of the Aeacid palace, another immortal variable was quietly preparing to draw its first breath here at the western edge of Greece, amidst the wild mountains, following the paths of Macedonia, Thebes, and Athens, ready to shatter the old order of the world into absolute piecework.
To be continued. A Great Argead Saga Alexein. Volume 1, Telesias, the War Dance. A new episode every single day. We are dropping a new episode every day until the epic conclusion of Volume 1. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 5 to 15-minute hit of cinematic historical drama, perfect for your daily plunge into antiquity. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full saga now. Bookmark Volume 1, Telesias playlist. Subscribe to follow the rise of the Argead Dynasty. Thumbs up to help push our vanguard through the algorithm's gauntlet. Comment below.